Well, greetings, everyone. We're delighted that you could join us today. My name is Nathan Thielman, and I'm Professor of Medicine and Global Health and Director of the Master of Science in Global Health program at Duke. And again, we're just delighted that you've taken the time to join us for this session. I think you'll find it to be informative and helpful as you consider your plans for next year. We're recording this session for those who are unable to attend, and also for those of you who are attending, but may want to watch this again later. You'll be able to find this recording on the Admitted Students webpage. So, we've reviewed your stellar applications, and we know that you're likely attending other admitted students days for other schools. So throughout our session, as we kind of talk to our faculty and one another, we want to make sure that you're aware of what we think makes Duke a really special place. I'll just tell you that I've spent 28 years here at Duke as a student, as a trainee, as a faculty. I've been around other institutions. And so a couple of things that I think really make Duke stand apart in global health are first of all, the experienced faculty within the Global Health Institute who know why they are engaged in global health. The folks before you here are anchored in their values. They come to global health with passion and a sense of mission and a desire for social justice by improving health equity. And the underlying motivational premise, I think, for all of us involved in global health, and I love to just name it, is to say that regardless of race, socioeconomic status, gender, geography, or any descriptor you can put on a human being, that the health of that individual matters. And so as global health researchers and implementers, we seek to describe health disparities to then implement and evaluate evidence-based solutions to improve health outcomes. So the first thing I think that sets Duke faculty apart is that they're not only competent researchers, teachers, and practitioners, but there is a purposeful passion behind what they do. And I think you'll see that as they interact with you in a few moments. The second thing is that I think our faculty are just uniquely interdisciplinary. I'm actually in Trent Hall, and if you kind of go across the hall from me, there's an OBGYN doctor, there's an emergency medicine doctor, there's an epidemiologist a little further down the hall. You kind of turn the corner and we run into our environmental science friends. We go upstairs and there's Tony Fuller and the neurosurgery group up there. And we've got biostats and the research design and analysis core around the corner on this floor as well. So it's very impressive to see the number of people that are coming together in the same building towards the same goal of achieving health equity. And then the final thing, and this is not intended to be a monologue, but I just want to give you a little bit of a sense for who we are and what we do. It's just the breadth of activities here. There's a certain breadth geographically, of course, and topically. And that's been, I think, demonstrated this week, especially for us. Many of us have attended multiple master's theses already this week. And so if you just kind of look at the list of master's theses here, they go on and on and on, but the ones that I've attended so far this week are really exciting. One that's been about developing an educational program to promote the uptake of cervical cancer screening in Western Kenya. One about describing interventions for myocardial infarction among patients with HIV infection in northern Tanzania. Just this afternoon, one on trying to figure out what the right cutoffs are for certain assays for latent tuberculosis in large populations based on CDC studies. And the list goes on and on and on. So there's just a lot of really interesting work that's going on here. And we want to equip you to do great things in the world. So I'm just super excited that you're here. And actually, I want to hear a little bit more about you. I think, Alexis, can we pull up the slide that describes folks? Yeah, there you are. This is you. And as you look at this, please feel free to just put in the chat box maybe your name and where you're from and what your interest is. Yeah, if we can pull that up, that would be great. And this is just kind of who you are. Sorry, I'm getting a little lost in my Zoom here, but we'll get it up. Yeah, so again, you're a very ambitious group. You've got a GPA of 3.6 on average. 14 of you are first generation college students. You bring a wide variety of academic and personal perspectives, different institutions, as you can see here, very diverse. And again, we're just delighted that you're here and a part of this. And we're eager to hear more from you as well. So I have lost my Zoom window, which is a little bit awkward. Let's see if I can bring it up. Is everyone still there, Alexis?
We're here.
Okay, I think it's just on my end, so I apologize for that. I can't see the chat for some reason, but maybe others can. Oh, there you are. Okay. Yeah, so please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. We'd be delighted to hear more about you as we go on. So I want to let our panelists speak for a little bit now as well, and maybe I'll just have you introduce yourselves, if you don't mind.
Shall I just start? Do we have an order?
Yeah, just go ahead, Carrie.
Okay.
There you are. I've
Okay.
got my Zoom fixed now.
Hi, let me second Nathan's welcome and say that I'm also delighted to see these names, this long list of names in the participant list and some faces. I'm really excited to meet you when you come next year, if you decide to join us this fall. My name is Kearsley Stewart. I'm a medical anthropologist. Most of my career, I've been working on HIV from the point of view of youth and the rapid testing, so counseling related to HIV testing in Uganda. And I have recently opened a new field site on sickle cell disease in Uganda, because in the same way that we had rapid tests change the way that we did HIV research in the 90s, sickle cell disease now has a rapid test, and that's changing the way that we're going to be able to offer and treat sickle cell patients in Uganda. So if you have any interest in HIV, sickle cell, Africa, Zimbabwe, and Uganda, then I would be delighted to consult with you and help you develop some ideas for your research project or an internship. I teach the ethics class and the qualitative research methods class. So ethics is required. So my delight is I get to meet everyone and I get to hear about everyone's project in that class. And qualitative methods is for those of you, there's usually 10, 20, or 30% of you who are doing qualitative projects, and I see you in my qualitative class. So looking forward to hearing more from everyone in the rest of this session.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie. Eric, you're next.
Great, thanks. Eric Green. I am a core faculty member in the Institute and clinical psychologist by training. I teach a course in research methods, and it's a required class, and it's in the fall. So if you come, we get to hang out a little bit in the fall. And I teach an elective on data science and visualization using the R program, which is going on right now. So that's an option for you in one of your springs. My work is in my work of substances in digital health for the most part. So look forward to meeting some or all of you.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. Tony, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Tony Fuller. I'm an assistant professor in neurosurgery and the Associate Director for the Division of Global Neurosurgery Neurology here at Duke. And so our group specifically is working on trying to improve access and quality of neurosurgery neurology care around the world, primarily in East Africa, but over the past few years, we've been expanding to other locations. Our group does research across the entire spectrum from pre-hospital care to in-hospital care to post-hospital care, in addition to a multitude of different kind of methodologies. And so we have a mixture of folks who work with us that do quantitative projects, qualitative projects, education-based, working on policy, kind of across the board. We have about 120 different folks in our division and 34 active research projects. And so happy to talk about some of those and share with what you do, with what we do, and hopefully interest some of you all to join our work. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Liz.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Liz Turner. I think you can probably immediately detect I'm from England originally. I've been here for 10 years, which is quite a milestone. So I'm a biostatistician. I'm associate professor in the biostatistics department and joint in global health. All my collaborations are in the Institute. And I also lead something that I think would be very interesting to all of you. So within DGHI, we have a research group that's focused on quantitative and qualitative methods, predominantly quantitative. Our name is the Research Design and Analysis Core. And I'm going to put our link right here because we are a group who will be able to partner with all of you on your research projects. Let's make sure it comes in as a link. So it should be right here.
There you go.
Yeah, there we are. And another member of our group actually is on this call, Joao Visoci. He'll introduce himself in a moment. So I focus on really on evaluating the impact of interventions. That's one of the primary kind of types of research question I address. And the predominant areas are in global mental health and malaria research. And I do work in a number of other areas. And I use predominantly an evaluation design called cluster randomized trial design, which has loads of really interesting kind of statistical features, can be used in a whole host of areas of kind of impact evaluation. And many researchers at the Institute use this kind of design. So it's something maybe to pique your interest that there might be some interesting questions that come out of some of the trials that are going on in the Institute. And we certainly do not do only trials. We have a lot of observational research, many mixed methods projects. And another important piece of information, the final piece for my intro, is that I teach alongside with Eric, one of the 3 fall core methods classes. And it's the biostatistics and epidemiology class. And I'll be sharing a little more about that soon. Thank you. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that come up along the way via chat or in verbally. Yeah.
Thank you, Liz. And Zhao.
Hello. So my name is João Ricardo Visoci. I'm originally from Brazil, but I've been with Duke and the Global Health Institute for 6 years now. And as Liz mentioned, I have the pleasure of being part of the RDEC, which I also work with the students. So we are there to support you in the development of your thesis work through the researchers, the biostatisticians and the faculty at the RDEC, as well as the research activities, as Liz mentioned. I'm also with the School of Medicine in the Emergency Medicine Division. And along with the DGHI, I'm directing the Gemini Center, which is the Global Implementation and Innovation, Global Emergency Care Implementation Innovation Center, which we focus on designing and implementing innovative ways to address acute care and equity in access to acute care globally, primarily in Tanzania and Brazil, but also in some other countries as well. I am particularly very interested on aspects related to measurement, testing, psychometrics, and data science overall, and how we can use data to answer problems in the low and middle income world towards equity and access to care.
Fantastic. Thank you, Zhao. And Mary, you should introduce yourself as well, although you're not technically a panelist and you're going to close us out in a little bit. I want to make sure folks know who you are. Oops, I think you're still muted, Mary, sorry. And there you are. Yeah.
There.
So, yeah.
I'd like to welcome everyone. This is really an exciting time for us. And I'm Mary Story. I'm a professor in global health and family and community health. And my area is in child nutrition and adolescent nutrition. And I'm also associate director for the education and academic programs here at DGHI, which includes not only our master's program, which is really a centerpiece of the whole institute, but we also have an undergraduate major, as well as a minor, and also a doctoral scholars program. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. And I'm gonna throw a few softball questions out to our panel. But while I do that, I want to encourage participants, and thank you so much for introducing yourselves in the chat, which I finally figured out on my computer here. It really is astounding to just see where you all are from, and we're delighted that you're here. But as we start discussing among ourselves on the panel, my softball questions, you get to throw in some hardball questions as well. So put them in the chat, and Alexis and Sarah are going to monitor the chat and would be happy to try to filter out which questions might be the best ones where we're seeing some consensus and important questions that you want answered together. So yeah, y'all be thinking about that. First one is just tell me a little bit about your teaching style. That's kind of part A. And along with that, how do you integrate the teams in your courses? Global health is really an interdisciplinary enterprise, and it's important for us to think about teams. How have you guys done that?
Perhaps I can share some thoughts on that. So yeah, it's Liz again. So as I mentioned, I teach the fall intro to biostatistics and epi class. So as Nathan mentioned, teams are really kind of central to the way we address many of questions that arise in global health. So I feel very strongly that that's really a core part of the teaching. And so we use team activities during class time, for part of the class time, not all of the class time, that really reflect the materials we're covering during lecture time. And so those activities are very structured. They're inspired and directly related to published studies. So they are really connected to kind of global health activities, questions that are going on around the globe. We deconstruct elements of those questions in a way that are very much related to the topics we're learning in epidemiology and biostatistics. So for example, I might have a question that challenges you as you're in a team to go find and really understand what method has been used in an article that's been published, and then to discuss different features of that analysis in a very structured way, paced such that we're building up to much harder questions over the course of the semester. So we scaffold, build as the semester goes. You're getting better to know your team along the way. I place you together with my co-lead Larry Park, who leads the lab portion of my class. We jointly, he and I together, place you in teams at the beginning of the semester, and you'll remain in those teams for the duration of the semester so that you have that opportunity to really build those strong bonds with your team members, and also, quite honestly, have to figure out how to navigate any challenges you may have and how you work together and have different working styles. Yeah, so that's an example of using teams in class. And also, by the way, I tried to make sure that the work I require you to do in teams can be completed during class time so that you don't have to have a lot of complex scheduling going on outside of class. I can't guarantee that will always work perfectly, but we tried to make that happen with the balance of lecture time and team time. And you might hear my 2-year-old shouting downstairs. I'll mute now.
That's really good. Thank you, Liz. Carrie, I see you unmuted.
Yes, thanks. And Liz is my neighbor. We share a wall on the second floor. So it's nice to see you in a little tiny window there. So again, I teach the core spring class, which is Ethics of Global Health Research. And my approach to teaching that class is to deliver a didactic lecture on Monday. And then on Wednesday, we have a discussion section. And I actually break out the cohort into 4 discussion sections. So it's an opportunity for you to meet once a week with a much smaller, more intimate group, maybe 10 of the cohort or 12. So that's really unique. And then you're also assigned in a discussion leader group. So it's not quite a team in the sense that Liz just mentioned it, but you are in a discussion leader group. And in those weekly Wednesday discussion sections, the discussion leaders come together, make a short presentation, and then lead us with some direction from me in interactive activities to discuss the case for the week. So for the way that I teach ethics is we do a little bit of theory, not too painful, but it's mostly what we would call applied ethics or case methodology. Each week we tackle a big global health problem, say, for example, informed consent, community engaged research, questions like this through the lens of a case. And it's an example of an actual research project. Some are global health, some are not, but that amplify the themes for that week. So I'll deliver the content in a lecture on Monday, and then we all come together in these intimate groups led by you. The content and the shape of the discussion is established by the cohort itself. So it's a way in which you as the student group can establish what is it that you want to talk about. And often we talk about our positionality in global health. We talk about equity in global health. We talk about decolonization. Those are a lot of the topics that I bring into the ethics class, and I choose cases that reflect that. So it's an opportunity to be in a small space to discuss really in depth these very important issues. So that's how I approach that class.
That's great. Eric, I'm happy for you to pick up on that, but also I was thinking about the question of, how do you, sometimes people need a little extra support. We have a cohort that's coming together from around the world and different educational systems, and everybody's kind of coming in it from a different perspective. And so how might you work with a student who requires a little extra support?
Well, not many good things have come out of the pandemic, but one has been an uptick in the use of office hours, because they're not only through Zoom, but Zoom has made it so much easier for students to pop by and ask a question. So we do use those a good bit. We have a platform called Ed. I don't know who named it Ed, but Ed's great. You can ask questions anonymously or with your name, and anybody, me or the TAs or anybody in the class can weigh in. I get a lot of questions through Ed in my data science course. And, Nathan, like you said, it's a real diverse class in terms of people's prior experience with statistics and statistical programming. And so I get, real novices and people that have already been on their journey for a little bit. And people ask great questions on Ed, and they're like brain teasers for me. So I answer a bunch of questions each night. The third thing I can point to is that I like Liz, I don't like group assignments, group work outside of class that might be like the group projects that you've had bad experience with in the past. But we do try to find opportunities within the course to do paired and work in triplets, because it helps, to think about it on your own for a little bit, but have somebody else to bat an idea around with. So a lot of my homeworks actually are, you can possibly do in pairs if you'd like that additional support. Because, at this stage, what's most important is that feel like you're mastering the material, and some students work a little bit better when they can bounce ideas off of somebody else.
Yeah, that's great. Liz, what about you? How do you manage the
so many similar themes as for Eric, and another is as I think you'd also confirm as well, Eric, something that's been really beneficial, I think, for so many of our students is the strong TA structure that we have within the program. So all of our core methods classes have TAs attached to them. And for example, for biostatistics and epidemiology, we also have a lab component. So this is a 4-credit class. We meet 3 times a week. Once is lab, twice is kind of the lecture activity time. And we have 2 TAs who work with us who have taken the course the previous year, are really kind of integrated into the second year cohort. They are members of that cohort, and then they'll come to each session each week. And we also offer, so that's 3 times a week already, we have this contact point, and we additionally have office hours on the off days. So basically you could come find us, like Eric, through Zoom in person and on every single day of the week. So I think that is really, we have phenomenal TAs. We're currently selecting for this coming fall, and I'm very excited about the applicants that have come through for that. So that's a really, I think, kind of crucial cog in the wheel of keeping things moving and the community being built amongst you as well, and the support being built.
Love it. Very helpful. Thank you, Liz. Jiao, how do you include perspectives of other faculty and global health experts into your course? And Carrie, I know you do a lot of this as well, but Jiao, I hadn't heard much from you yet. Love to hear your thoughts there.
Sure, Nathan. So I think it's very important to have other views, especially because I can teach you to see things in the way that I see, but I will not have all the experience. So I'll give you 2 examples. In our current course is on implementation science. The way we structure the course is that the students work as part of their assignments with a partner who is somebody from the global work, basically a collaborator from our group, that is giving them a context to build an answer for an implementation science problem. And they're working with you in guiding that, as well as we are also bringing other researchers around DGHI and globally who are working in implementation science questions to bring their insights on answers, which we then discuss in our class what their experiences are and how they're applying the theoretical models around implementation science to the questions at hand. Another example on the systematic review course is that we always bring an expert from the field to offer a question, which then we answer the question, conducting a systematic review as a group in the class. And so this way we are always opening opportunity for people to come in and share their experiences with the course, as well as we then as instructors help you understand that, digest that experience in light of the theories you're learning or the experience you're developing throughout the course.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Carrie.
Well, I take a very broad view of what and who is a global health expert. And as an anthropologist, for me, that means the community. So again, in my ethics class, each week we tackle a case, and it's always seen through the lens of the community or the individuals who experience that particular case. So for example, we start out with an issue around research misconduct in a Native American group in the American Southwest around genetics and biological samples, research misconduct. And almost all the materials we read are from the point of view of the community that experienced that research misconduct. We also look at HIV research in Nairobi, and we see the issues around consent, benefit sharing, and equity from the perspective of the women who were part of that trial. Similarly, we just actually finished this past week up with an issue around the Ebola outbreak in West Africa in 2014 to 2016, and the issue of resource allocation of very scarce therapeutics. Why didn't the local doctors receive those therapeutics, but the visiting expat doctors did during the Ebola outbreak? So I bring interviews, I bring blogs, I bring videos, all of these materials to give you a sense of what community engaged research is like and what the community is saying in the middle of these big global health issues. And so you see the local for sure, and you can experience and understand the global issues through the lens of those particular community members. So that's how I bring different voices into my class.
That's great. It's great to hear each of your perspectives on that. Let me throw out a kind of more general question. What do you guys view as the key strengths of our curriculum here? What is it that kind of gets you excited about the way it all kind of comes together and coheres as a curriculum? Tony.
Yeah, so part of what I didn't share was that I was a Master's of Global Health student some years back. And so part of my journey was I came to medical school at Duke. And at Duke, you have an opportunity to do research. And so I was really struggling with this idea of, do I just go and do research, or do I do another degree to get further kind of information and expand my ability to then hopefully have a career in global health moving forward? And so when I was really in your all's position, I think that's exactly what attracted me to this program and what I experienced, which is that I wanted to be able to join a curriculum that gave me the terminology, the insight into what global health means in a more expansive sense, gave me an opportunity to really understand what are the ways to develop a global health question from scratch and then implement it, and then go through the entire process. What does it mean to actually support a global health project from a grant standpoint, from an implementation standpoint, et cetera, and then have the opportunity to actually do that project and not just write about it in class, but actually go. And so I think for me, at least, what I really loved and what I think is the strength of the curriculum is that you have 2 years where you get a chance to really understand global health in the classroom, but then you get this unique and beautiful opportunity to spend a minimum of 10 weeks somewhere else doing your actual project. And so for me, I ended up actually spending an entire half of a year living in Uganda doing my project. And I thought that was a really excellent opportunity that allowed me to take what I was learning from the classes, apply it to my project in the field. And then ultimately, part of my story as well is that I loved what I did so much in global health that I actually decided not to practice clinically after I finished medical school. And that decision was really based upon the strength of the kind of global health curriculum that I had here, which really gave me an idea of how can I be impactful in a way that I didn't know about prior to that. I had only thought about being impactful from a kind of clinical standpoint, but this helped me to understand I could be impactful in this broader sense. And then also the tools that I took from classes allowed me to be able to really be successful. So I think our curriculum does a really good job of that. You're going to pick up the skills that allow you to be a good global health researcher in the future. And you have that experience in the field to actually, hone your skill set. And then once you're done, you're really well prepared either to go into something in global health or to move on to the next part of your career, but integrate kind of global health into that. So that would be my personal experience of going through the program.
That's great. Thank you. Eric.
Yeah. I actually don't have too much to add to what Tony said, because I believe the same thing. I think the curriculum's pretty streamlined, and the focus in these courses is pretty applied in nature, which I think does students well by giving them the skills they're going to need in the next stage. And so when I hear back from students who have moved on to their next round of graduate school, if they're going on, or right into the workforce, it's, hey, we were trained pretty well, and I was ready on day one for the assignments that were put on my desk, and so that to me says we're doing something right in the curriculum side.
Yeah, good. Anyone else? Good. Liz?
Yeah, just to add to that, just to say that I remember, Tony, in your first semester in the program, when you and Tran went off to Uganda during the fall semester and came back, having basically set up a national survey. You said you were going to do that. And I remember us many of us thinking, oh, that's quite an ambitious 1 week trip. And then we were just thrilled to see that you would come back having achieved so much and have so much set in place. So yeah, I think that it's kind of like a nice, you're living proof of sort of kind of the flavor of what we seek to do in the program. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for that, Liz. I love to think of students as pluripotent stem cells. So pluripotent stem cells are cells in our bodies that can differentiate into different things, and kind of one could become a red blood cell, one could become a white blood cell. And I guess, you know, we have before us this amazing group of admitted students who could differentiate into many different ways. And so the question that I would ask next is how do you work with students to help them refine their goals for the program as it relates to their research, to their interest, their future, and how does that work in either the research pathway or the internship pathway?
So I can get started on that, because I think for me personally, I love the coursework and everything, but I'm very, very, very fascinated by the mentorship activities and how you get to be involved very deeply with very active and high level research groups. So you'll be exposed to research groups here that are doing most advanced things in global health. And you can, and the cool thing about DGHI is that it's so plural. I could not use the same word for referring to cells as you did, Nathan, but it's so plural to the extent that you can go for Tony for very oriented to neurosurgery, to surgery, to neurology elements, but you can go all the way around to Eric for mental health, but go to environmental sciences, and you have the ability to circle through all of that. You will be matched to a group that's more aligned to your expectations, but that does not block you from getting involved with other people around the institute, of other classes, see other groups. I know that most of the groups have their open meetings that you can come and listen and learn what's being done and being involved. And I always tell the students to be extremely curious, because you're not going to decide your path. This program is a program that's going to open your minds to all the potential paths you're going to do. And our job, and that's why I love this piece, is to kind of give you a direction, is help you find that direction within the field you're working and support you on that. So what I do with the students that I start working with in the first months as they're developing their research proposals is finding within the research agenda that I have in the group that I run, also how does that align with your interests and what you want to learn, and then build an infrastructure around you with your peers, with me, with your fellow mentors, with your committee members, to give you enough support so that you can trail that path. If you want to do something more related to policy, you want to do something more related to the practical world, there's an area for that. If you want to learn how to be a hardcore scientist, you want to do a lot of scientific writing and grant writing, there's a path for that. If you want to learn how to code and do what Liz does so cool of analysis, there's a path for that, and there's a lot of support in it. And that's our role, and we're very happy to work with you on that.
That's great. Love it. Tony.
Yeah, so I mean, that was already beautiful. So the only thing that I would add to that is that I think the word that was brought up at the beginning about the uniqueness of Duke is, I think we're here to help you define what you're passionate about, right? And I think, at least for me in global health, I think it's really important to find that, and you can find that through the diversity of the different approaches I was already mentioned. But I think when I'm working with students, I'm really trying to understand what are the things that you're passionate about, and what are the things that you're hoping to do with either your career or with your life or impact on the world, and how can we work together to ensure that what you're doing in the program is aligned to all the different points that Java just mentioned. And so I think for me, I just use that phrase passion as something I'm looking for folks who are joining our team, and then also trying to cultivate that, whether it's in our team or not, just making sure that we're making those connections with other folks in order to help cultivate that passion in you. Because I think global health is wonderful, but it's also challenging. And that challenging part, being able to have that passion, allows you to get through those challenging days. And I think all of you who are here at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., are already showing your passion for this work, right? Which is the reality of doing global health is you are dealing with these time zone differences. And I have many times where I'm needing to wake up at 3 a.m. and what wakes me up is that passion of doing this work. And so trying to cultivate that in our students, I think is something really important to us, and that everything was mentioned. We hope to, provide that drive where you can find that if you don't already have that already.
Yeah. Thank you both so much for that. It's really helpful. As I think about kind of, we've gone from really broad things. Now let's drill down a little bit. So if you have a particular student who's working with you, what's your approach to working with that student in the master's program? So like what type of things do you work on with your student research assistant following their initial placement before they start working on a research project? And then how do you seek to support them as they transition and shift from kind of maybe what your idea of the project is to their own project? So I'm curious if any takers for that.
Sure, I'll jump in. So just to clarify that every student is offered an opportunity to choose a project, and the ed team puts together a catalog of sorts. Each of the faculty writes a one-page summary of a potential research or an internship project, and you read through all of them, and then we schedule interviews, and you choose the project that you'd like to get involved with. So for me, for example, this year I actually have 2 master's students, which is delightful because one student, this is my sickle cell project in Uganda, is interested in this new technology, the new rapid technology, rapid testing, diagnostic and screening. So she's developing a project in very close coordination with my colleagues in Uganda. And then the other student is interested in health education and health promotion. And so she's doing a complementary project. What do you need to tell people to teach them when they're going to have a rapid test like this? Genetic counseling, what needs to be done in this particular community? So I chose 2 students who are really complementary. So we're a small team. We meet right away. I just jump right in. So right from the very beginning, we've been having weekly meetings with our Ugandan team. And I sort of modeled how meetings should go. And now we're in the spring. Both of those students are leading their own research meetings with our colleagues in Uganda. And I'm just attending. But these 2 students are leading those research meetings. They're taking the lead on the IRB. They're developing the instruments. They're getting phenomenal experience how to design, implement, apply a project, explore ideas, and all in these weekly meetings with our Ugandan colleagues. So that's how I work, very close in the beginning, but then I transition you right away to take the leadership role.
Very cool. Tony.
Yeah, so I would say that we have some of the things that have already been highlighted, we also do in our group. And I would say that I split it down into probably 3 phases. So the beginning phase is probably students are just interested in what we do. And as Job mentioned earlier, we just say, come to our meetings. We have weekly meetings on Fridays where we're talking about our group. And so we just say, come to those, get a flavor of what it is that we do, see if it aligns with what you're interested in, et cetera, just so that students get that. The second phase is now someone is interested in working with us. That's when we dive deep. We want to understand what is it that interests you? What are the things that you're hoping to gain out of this experience in order to really be able to say, okay, this is a 2-year program, get as much out of it as possible, and so being able to sit and say, what is it that you want to gain from your research project? Given we have such a wide diversity of projects, we want to make sure that we're aligning with what are the skills you're hoping to develop? What are the things that you're interested in? What is your goal after you're done with the program? And so that second phase. And the third phase is exactly what has been already mentioned, which is that as you're working on a project, what we try to do right away is that this is your project. And so making sure that you've been, given the appropriate discussion about how to lead a team and all that stuff, but then as was mentioned, letting that transition into you're leading the team meetings, you're setting the agenda, you're getting feedback as opposed to someone drafting and saying something to you, or giving the student a lot of that autonomy for creating the project, because we think that's the best way to really learn. And you have a team of mentors. When you join our group, we have a large diversity of folks, as well as DJHI, that allows you to really get that mentorship in different aspects depending upon what it is that you do. So that would be our 3-phase approach. And we actually invite folks, even now, if you're admitted, our meetings on Fridays are open to anyone who wants to attend, and I'll post a little bit more about our group in the chat. But if you're interested in us, we begin that process as early as you begin your time here at Duke.
That's great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I would just add, I think that besides the individual mentorship and getting involved in a group that has these meetings, one thing that we try to do as well, once you decided what is your path, and sometimes this path is more analytical, sometimes this path is more political, is more on the qualitative side, we try to do a lot of peer support. So within the group, we match you with students that are on the second year, or with students that are coming in from the group that are PhD level or postdoc level, to have somebody that you can have like a second mentorship panel for you internally that will ease you into the group and understand the processes a little bit better. And then we'll help you get more acclimated and then move forward with your own activities. So I think all of these come down to the day-to-day thing. What you do in a daily thing is come to the meetings, come to the discussions, take ownership of some parts of the group in developing projects, writing papers, presenting on the meetings, taking parts of the administrative pieces of the groups. And with that, you're getting more and more involved, and then you'll be able to reach this learning that you're interested in.
That's great. I think y'all touched on this a little bit already, but I did want to also ask, like, if you have a large research team, how do you include students in that team and make sure that it's something that it feels like it's kind of mutually beneficial, that there's something in it for the team? How do you not get kind of overwhelmed if you're a student in a large team? And then also, how do you help students connect to collaborators beyond Duke?
Yeah, I think I was kind of touching into that, and then I'll let the rest of the group also barge in. But what we've done is we've started this process where you're always matched with a peer within the group, besides having your faculty mentor. And so you have like this two-way connection that will ease you into the processes, as well as start developing your own relationships in the group with your peers. And then we've transitioned our group to be very active virtually using a couple of softwares. The one that we're using mostly now is Microsoft Teams, which is a place where everybody's in the group is there. And so you have access to anybody there. We have our own small things that we do there to kind of try to get you more involved with the group. But in every project you get started, you will be connected with the group and the infrastructure around the group that will include people here from the master program, but also people from our shared network, because that's what global health is about. So you'll be in contact with people from Tanzania, we'll be in contact with people from Brazil, from people from different places that will kind of build the groups you're going to be working on these projects that you're going to be involved with.
That's great. Thank you, Jean. Tony, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, I was just going to say we do the same thing. I mean, our research team is also fairly large, and so we try to make sure that students are paired on projects. And so in our group, we actually have high school all the way through postdocs that are in our group. And so what that ends up meaning is that any student who's working with us ends up having this ability to, as Jara has mentioned, having this like near peer, but also being able to lead a team of other students that undergrads or high school students are working with you on this project. But when I say that, it's not just here. We have students who are all over the country, but also the world. And then specifically in the place that we work with, we are working more deliberately to pair you with master's students in Uganda who are working on a similar project. And so, as well as our neurosurgery residents or neurology residents in Uganda. And so that allows you to really have this full team that's working with you on your project. To Zhao's point, so you have that experience. And then certainly the only thing I'll also mention about external collaborators would be that, of course, you're going to have the folks that we work with that you're going to be working with, but we also try to make sure that all of our students present at the conferences, either locally. There's a bunch of conferences in Uganda that we try to make sure our students, when they're there, present at. But then also, there's a lot of global conferences that we try to get our students to. And so give you an opportunity to present and be at those, I think, is another way to expand your network, especially while you're in the program, which may set you up for something kind of later down the line after you're done. And so we try to do that as well with our second year students, certainly.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Tony. Sarah, were there questions in the chat that you think we need to address as well?
Yeah, you know, Nathan, thank you. We've been addressing a lot of them as we've gone, just also in the chat. Thank you to Tony and Liz and everybody else. Let's see, there was a question about what qualities have you seen in past students that have helped them succeed in the program? That's a good question. I don't know who wants to take it.
I was typing a response there, so just briefly talk about it, but I've mentioned it before. Be very curious and seek out. I think that's the main thing. The couple of the master students that I've worked with that are were very successful were students that they would reach out to a bunch of the faculty, get a time with them, ask questions, be very involved. Sometimes they would come to me with something that Eric told them. And I was like, I haven't thought about that. That's a good point Eric made. So let me revise this with you. And also open up new opportunities for different collaborations, right? So be very curious, seek out, don't wait for you to be invited, seek out, go to the meetings, as Tony mentioned, go to the meetings of the groups, sit in, you don't have to compromise to anything, but you can just sit in and listen, and that will always give you something to learn from, and be self-driven in that character. I think that's the main thing that I would share with you.
Great, that's great. Anything else, Sarah? Probably in the...
There's an interest in learning a little bit about what it's like to live in Durham and learn in Durham. If anybody wants to add there, although I'll take this as an opportunity to plug the 2 sessions we'll have on the 28th and the 6th that are an opportunity for all of you on the line to talk to current students and get student perspectives on that question as well.
Yeah.
I was starting to type in response to that great question about living and learning in Durham. So maybe one perspective is I came 10 years ago from London and love living in London, love big cities. I've lived in Paris and Montreal as well. So just 3 examples of cities. And I thought, goodness me, I mean, I'm not going to survive more than a year in this small town before I came here. And how wrong was I? Look at me 10 years later, and I don't think I go back to live in a big city now. Now, I'm likely in quite a different life stage to many of you maybe when you arrive here, but I think that maybe gives you a little perspective on that. Actually, it's quite surprising how many interesting things, or could be surprising to some of you, how many interesting things are going on here. You really can find something for everyone, I would say. And it's quite a charming mid-sized town. So I'll say just that piece on living. The learning piece, I think you'll get more on both that and the living from the students.
Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say we have a scrappy upstart basketball team that, you know, does okay every March. And so there's lots of opportunities to get out and see both Duke and UNC and NC State in the area. That's one of the great things about the Triangle. We have a fantastic minor league baseball team that feeds into 2-time World Series contender in the Rays. So lots of sporting events if you're into that.
Yeah, a lot to commend for Durham. I love that. I want to be mindful of our time here, and so I think there are a few other questions, and maybe we can multitask and try to answer some of those in the chat. So, but I wanted to just conclude for each of the 5 panelists with the question, just bullet, tell me what you enjoy most about working with Masters in Global Health students here. Eric.
So I've really enjoyed working with students who, land and are ready to go, and they're so eager. They know they only have 2 years, and I think knowing that it's a compressed timeline. I work with PhD students as well a little bit, and they're here for the longer haul. The master's students really know that their time is limited, and it's fun working with somebody on that timeline. And they're always looking for what comes next too. So it's a great mentorship opportunity. So it's fulfilling in that way.
That's great. Carrie.
Oh, the cohort is global health. I mean, the slide that went up at the beginning, 60% international students, 16 countries. You are the future of global health. And I just feel really honored to be part of this moment, this 2 years. And then you're going to leave and create the future of global health. So that's what's really exciting to me.
Well said. Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, I was going to say a very similar thing. I think part of what I really enjoy is just folks who, I keep saying the word, but I really love folks who are passionate about this and just cultivating that. I think what's really beautiful about having students is that you're coming into this with this wide-eyed, change the world mentality, and it's like, so let's work. How do we make that happen? How do we change the world together in our group? How do we give you the skill set to make that happen? How do you cultivate your thought processes in order to ensure how do you actually make those things happen over time? And so I just love that experience. You get a chance to see a student coming in with amazing ideas about what to do, and then you're able to work together to actually do a project that does have some change in the world. And so I think that's what's been beautiful about working with students over the years.
That's great. Zhao and then Liz.
Yeah, I'll be very fast. I'm just fascinated by how much we learn with you guys. Just the exchange of cultures, the exchange of experiences, just how much you get involved in the projects. So yeah, I that's why I love mentoring. It's the exchange and the learning process, mutual, is just phenomenal. And this diverse group always gives us a lot of those opportunities.
Fantastic.
There's really nothing more I can add at this point. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I second and echo.
Yeah, ditto to everything.
Many of these sentiments.
Yeah, fair enough. Mary, please close us out here. Thank you all, first of all, so much. And we really good discussion. Mary.
Thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, take it away.
Thank you. And I'm just so glad to see so many prospective students here and from all over the world in different time zones. So thank you. You've just met tonight 6 of our amazing faculty. And so I really hope you can come to Duke. We are intentionally smaller than a lot of other programs, so you'll get individualized attention from faculty. And we also have a wonderful education staff. Sarah and Alexis are here tonight. So I hope you come. We'll be committed to your learning and your success, and to help you grow as a global health professional and leader. And we hope to see you in the fall. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening, and let's stay in touch. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.